How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Story of the Fight. My name is Romero. That's my boy Will, and we are late.
We are late.
That's my fault, everybody. That's my fault. Stuck in traffic. Had a meeting this morning because of life and work, and then people don't know how to drive. Will?
No, they don't. We were just talking about. Saw someone miss their exit, but then correct so that they made their exit like last second. And they say a good driver sometimes misses their exit, but a bad driver never misses their exit.
Oh, dude, that's such a good saying because a good driver will just be like, you know what? Let me just get off. Yeah, get the next one. You know what I mean? Backtrack. Yeah. A bad driver would be like, good luck, everybody else. Like on that, yeah. You see that Family Guy just fucking pull across everybody else. But hey, lot to cover, man. Lot to cover.
Yeah.
UFC 290. What a freaking card.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time I wanted to touch on some of the one Friday fights? There were some bangers, Muay Thai fights on Friday morning, but then it's like we're only going to cover the main card and 2 prelims of the UFC event because I know we're going to
because there's a lot to talk about.
There's going to be so much, and we did a fight companion, so we already did half the talking.
That's right.
Yeah, it's good. It's a big weekend.
If you missed a fight companion, go back. Check it out. It's always fun to go through and just see some of the reactions and see what we're talking about. By the way, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Goes a long way. Find us on Spotify, YouTube, Podcast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, and then storyofthefight.com. But yeah, so look, your boy here still wearing the Mexican Heritage Dallas Cowboys hat, Still proud, man, even after last night. But we'll go ahead and get started there. What's up, Regen?
Shout out
Regen joining us. So loyal, man. Every weekend, we can count on Regen.
I did catch up on y'all's reactions from last night. Whew. Yeah, I just put the timestamps on the fight companion. So if you want to, not everybody rewatches fights, right? But if you rewatch them, it's kind of fun to like. At least I do this. This is why I wanted to start doing fight companions. Is sometimes I'll rewatch a fight and then mute it and then put a fight companion on and sync it up just to see like what those people reacted to like throughout the fight. So the timestamps are up. The clock is on the screen for those fights if you want to go.
For all you fighting degenerates out there that go through and watch the fights again, join us. Shout out Andrew Toasty joining us as well. This weekend was so crazy. Indeed. So let's go and get started, man.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot to talk about.
We had Yair Rodriguez versus Alexandre Volkanovski. Man.
There's a hard R in Alexander.
Yes, and on this one, there is. So going through, we had mentioned there's so many different avenues Volkanovski could take to come out victorious in this fight, right? Where there's only one path for Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah, and shout out Regen says it was nice that y'all had the fighter names round and times up on screen. Made it super easy. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
We try to make it as easy as possible,
Yeah.
We can't give people excuses, People will take whatever excuse they can to not watch, But yeah, so we talked, like you said, Volkanovski had so many different avenues to take on this fight. Yair pretty much had his kicks, right? That's what everybody was like. The kicks are what's going to give Alex problems. It's given him problems in the past. Max Holloway hurt him with a kick. Makhachev even landed the kick, a high kick. And it was like, okay, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Volk's already a shorter guy, he does lean. He leans into that left side high kick. And Yair did land it. But unfortunately, the expert game planning that they can come up with, those kicks were also what did Yair in. The first round, he's moving well. He's landing those kicks. They're quick. They're snappy. But Volkanovski ends up catching one and dumping him, and he ends up on top. I mean, look at
a picture.
Dude, Volkanovski, for a second too, Volkanovski is the most complete fighter I've seen since GSP. He reminds me of GSP so much. GSP,
hold on.
Dude, GSP, Volkanovski, and Mighty Mouse. The three of them, I mean, dude, they're good.
That's everywhere. Some high praise. That is some really high praise.
They're good everywhere. I mean, and the timing on his takedown. So yeah, he catches the kick, he takes him down the first round, and just kind of grinds him out for the whole first round. Then Yair, in the second, was it the second round or the third round? I think it was the third round. The ended up being the final round. Volk ended up catching him with a punch while he's kicking. So it's like the timing of Volkanovski, knowing that the kicks are coming and waiting for his shot to either catch it or take him down, or land a big shot of his own while he's off balance throwing the kick. I mean, just beautiful. And Toshi says you're not knocking out Volk unless you hit him with a Mack truck, and you're not choking him out because he's got no neck. And he's so good. How do you choke out
very
a
high
boulder?
praise, very high praise, but it's hard to disagree with you, man. And you see him go up against a master striker like a Yair Rodriguez or a Max Holloway, right, who's an excellent boxer. You see him go up against Islam Makhachev, who's a fantastic wrestler, and you see Volkanovski hold his own in every single category with the elite of the elite, and able to mix it all up really, really well, able to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Like you were mentioning before, right? Able to make adjustments as the fight goes on because he does have that skill set in so many different areas where he can make adjustments where needed. Yair Rodriguez. So people had said, hey, we know that Volkanovski has a hard time with kicks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what people were saying Yair Rodriguez had a hard time with? Is that wrestling. The takedown defense, the wrestling. And, you saw Emmett take him down too. Josh Emmett take him down too, but he landed that triangle choke on Josh Emmett. And I think back to, again, when you and I watched that fight in person, Will, at American Airlines Arena, where it was Yair Rodriguez versus Frankie Edgar. And this was very reminiscent of that. The really takedown, the top control, Volkanovski landing the ground and pound, Yair Rodriguez having a hard time exploding out, being too comfortable off his back.
Yeah.
And I think it's different when you have somebody that gets on top and that is trying to maneuver their way and work their way into some type of submission. And when you're off your back, you have that jiu-jitsu game off your back and you can try to counter and see what it is that you could throw up yourself. That's one thing. But when you have somebody like a Frankie Edgar, when you have somebody like a Volkanovski who are really well suited down there and they're just raining bombs down on you, I think that the urgency has to change at that point.
Yeah, and remember we talked about before. Real quick, Regen says getting headbutted by Volk is the equivalent of getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can. Yeah, that was a nasty headbutt. But yeah, so Toshi says facts. We talked about before that I was worried that Yair has had success off of his back and that he'll try to work off of his back, but you're not going to get those things against Volk. It's different. You're just not going to.
Yeah.
He's way too good on top. You're not going to catch him in a triangle. You're not going to sneak an armbar in. It's just not going to happen. If Ortega can't submit him, nobody can, and he tried his best. So that was one of the things. It was like, if he gets taken down, he cannot just play guard and try to submit him because it's not going to work. He's going to end up giving up the round. And that's pretty much exactly what happened, I thought
gave him more than that.
Volkanovski did a great job of, if he was in his guard, just walking him to the fence, smashing him against the fence so that he can't extend his hips and throw up submissions. And then when he was in half guard, he didn't bother putting him against the fence because there's no real submission threat in half guard, and he's able to just rain down with punches. And Toshi shouts out Craig Jones. He spent a lot of time with Craig Jones in this fight. The preparation for this fight, Craig Jones was there the whole time, and it really showed. I mean, his just position awareness on the ground, because Yair ended up being a little bit more urgent as the fight went on off of his back, and he was going for sweeps, going for submissions to hit sweeps, and Volkanovski just giving him just enough space to move, but just riding on top of him and not getting swept, not getting out of position. The grappling really showed off, and it's been a long time since Volk really showcased it like that. He showed it against Makhachev, but not like that.
Yeah, a little bit harder versus Makhachev. You know what I mean? But I think that even though it wasn't as on display against Makhachev, for me it was more impressive because it was against Makhachev. Well, yeah, so he was able to hold his own against that Dagestani wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the difference is he's in that fight he's grappling with somebody who wants to continue grappling. you know.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
this is preventing somebody from getting up, you know.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was a fantastic performance by Volkanovski, and again, I
Dude.
think he just continues cementing himself as one of the best featherweights of all time.
Yeah, the real quick, the finishing sequence too. He hurts him with his punch off the kick. Yair backs up against the fence, and in the second round, he hurt Yair. Yair backed up against the fence. Volk closed the distance to try to take him out, and Yair threw a piston right back at him and cracked him, wobbled him. He got the takedown. This time, comes in much more measured. Doesn't just run in for Yair's big counter. Instead, is patient, clinches him, throws the knee. Yair has to shell up. While he's shelled, rips a right to the body, then an uppercut same
Nasty
side.
shot.
Yeah, the uppercut gets through, and as soon as he lands the uppercut, he's down on the double leg, picks him up, dumps him, and then just beats the brakes off of him. I mean, it was
The way he dumped him, and as he dumped him, lands and then steps right over. Like one sequence, you know, and then just starts raining those bombs down from Australia.
And tell me that didn't remind you of Demetrius Johnson, you know?
It did.
Having someone up against the cage, grab him, pull him down, eat the knee, right hook to the body, right uppercut, takedown. And I mean, it was just beautiful. And
Herb Dean gave Yair every opportunity in the
did.
world to get out of that, you know, and I still don't think it was a bad stoppage. Like, he was on that angle, he runs over to the other side, tries to get another angle to see, like, hey, is he going to try to fight back? He's just shriveled up, shelled up, you know what I mean? Is he going to try to get out of this? But he did give him every opportunity, man.
Yair was stuck. He was stuck.
Dude, he's getting hit with those shots from the land down under, man, and it's just nonstop, and all he could do is just shell up like that, man.
He could hear Men at Work playing in his head. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Instead of ringing in your ears, it's just, I come from the land down under.
Yeah.
Just nonstop. Dude, that would suck.
Toshi says DJ versus Volkswagen at 140. Oh my god, dude, that would be so sick. That would be so sick.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
It will never happen.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna have to just imagine it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. But that's it. So Volkanovski now open to fighting. I think it was Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, he said Topuria. They did a little face-off. You know, that's a good fight.
Man.
You know, and you kind of have to. You kind of have to just do it. You know, I'm just glad Volkanovski didn't finish this and be like, I want to go back against Islam. I didn't want that. I don't want to see that again. Not yet, at least.
And now we have Yair Rodriguez, you know, who becomes another one of those guys. Like, what do you do? Because I don't think that he has what it takes to beat Volkanovski. Like, at any point. At this point, Volkanovski, I think, is just head and shoulders above Yair Rodriguez. So is he just another one of those guys that, you know, continues fighting down and see which one of these young kids are good enough to go up? Is he the star crusher, you know, the ones that have that ascending star?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I feel like Arnold Allen needs to fight down. He just lost. Ortega, I don't know what he's doing. Emmett just lost. Everybody in the top 5 basically just lost, you know, except for Max, and Max is already booked. So, and then there's Topuria. So Topuria obviously goes up. I think he should fight for the belt. I don't know what's going on with Giga Chikadze. Maybe you do Chikadze versus Yair. You know, have him fight down. I don't know.
It's tough, man. That division is just absolutely full of killers. And that's the thing. Like, you take a look at middleweight, and you're like, oh man, like, I don't think anybody like really deserves to jump up at this point to fight Izzy. You take a look at featherweight, you're like, holy smokes, man! Like, just, I mean, the top 15 is absolutely stacked, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some guys there that need to be moving up. Dan Ige got to win. He needs to move up. Sadiq Yusuf, I have no idea where he's at. Yeah, Evloev needs to fight up, in my opinion. Chikadze should fight up. I know he lost, but we have to start moving people. Calvin Kattar, it should be fighting up. I think he just got injured, though, so I'm not sure what his timetable looks like. Tosi says Yair treads water until Volk moves up to lightweight. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, that might have to be the move, you know, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. Want to move on to this was my main event.
The people's main event.
The people's main event. Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Moreno.
Man. Sometimes you pick a fight and you get it wrong and you feel terrible about it because you're like, damn. And that happened in the Whittaker Du Plessis fight. Sometimes you pick a fight and you're right about it and it still hurts just as bad. And that was this one.
Man. Brandon Moreno, dude, just always in bangers, dude. Always in
He
bangers.
really is.
Like,
Cannot be a boring fight.
I just want to see him have just like a crazy dominant performance one time.
I mean, we saw that twice against Figueiredo.
Yeah.
The second fight.
Yeah, I guess when he subbed him. When he subbed him, that other fight was that other fight though, the one with the doctor's the doctor stoppage. That one was still pretty competitive, man. But it was a competitive fight for both of them.
It was competitive, but the last like 4 minutes of that fight was pretty much Moreno just going off, you know?
Yeah, man, this one really bummed me out. Moreno, that was good. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
little liver kick, you know. But don't forget, I think Yair France hurt him too, right? Cut him open pretty bad, cracked him. Yeah, let's not do that, man. And that's part of the love for Moreno, though. You know, people continue saying that Mexican fight style where it just bites down and swings when he has to. And we saw that last night too. We're like, please get out of that. We don't need a phone booth fight right now. He was doing so good. You know, when he started landing that left, the jab started connecting that second round. He started landing that left hook, ducking underneath it and coming out to the left side, moving laterally. And that's when we saw some of the best success coming from Moreno. And then Pantoja, you called it, though, with his blitzing style.
Yeah, and Regent says, I feel bad for Brandon. I thought Pantoja would win, but I didn't want him to. That's exactly what I was saying. Like, and Tosi said Moreno cuts easy. He definitely does. He's bleeding in pretty much every fight. And in fact, after the first round, his coach even said, we knew we were going to bleed tonight.
I love it.
Something
so good,
like that,
dude.
right? But yeah, Pantoja, his style, because Moreno doesn't really have that like one-punch knockout power. And Pantoja definitely does. It's also just really hard to knock out Moreno. He dropped him in the first round. But basically what Pantoja's style is I'm going to run at you. You're going to probably outstrike me on the numbers, but I'm going to land bigger shots, really hard shots that's going to make you fumble when I get close, and you'll get off balance. He'll grab onto you, and he'll take your back. And, I mean, he did exactly that. He did exactly what he's done in the past. He's so good at it. And I knew Moreno sometimes has a difficult time standing his ground. Like, he'll stand his ground, obviously, like mentally, but physically sometimes he does get knocked off balance and he trips up, and there's weird little moments that he crosses his feet sometimes. And I thought because of that, those are the openings that Pantoja is really good at forcing. He's fighting somebody who is already susceptible to that, and it's just going to feed right into his game plan. And it kind of did. Moreno, like you said, he started landing the left a lot. Broke his hand in the first round. Broke his right hand in the first round. So
Moreno did?
Probably why he was so active with the left for the remainder of that fight.
It worked for him, though.
It worked, but could you imagine if he could have followed up with a 100% right hand throughout the night? Maybe a different thing. Tosi says, in between fourth and fifth, with both coaches screaming at their fighters, was a straight movie scene. Yeah, Regent says that's a great moment. Yeah, it's tough because I would have liked to see Moreno go a little harder in the fifth round because it was pretty obvious he needed a finish at that point. I thought it was 3-1 going into the fifth round. But at the same time, if he does go for broke to try to get that finish, that's pretty much the exact thing that Pantoja needs to execute his game plan. So he does have to be cautious. And it still ended up not mattering because Pantoja still took his back in that fifth round. And just, man, it's tough. But what a banger. What a banger.
Yeah. Man.
I'm sad about it.
Dude, I was so bummed out, man. I love Brandon Moreno. You know, I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of Brandon Moreno, the fighter. You know, I don't know him personally, but I'm also a fan of Brandon Moreno, the person.
Yeah.
You know, so it's tough, man. It's tough. And like I said, for me, Brandon Moreno rekindled some of those feelings that I got as a kid watching some of these Mexican boxing legends walking out, you know, and I get the exact same feeling when I see Brandon Moreno. Yeah. So there's this extra, like, I don't know, nostalgia. There's this extra thing. Yeah, nostalgia that I get whenever I see Brandon Moreno fight. And so for me, that was really heartbreaking last night, you know?
Yeah. Moreno, Regent says, Moreno kind of upset me in the fifth, man. His corner told him he needed to finish, and Brandon looked like he was just trying to win the round. Yeah, and I think it's tough because broken hands, you know, Pantoja was gassed for sure. That was the crazy thing. Pantoja was gassed after the first round, but he just continued to push through it like it didn't matter. And there was a couple moments where Moreno had him hurt, and had him up against the fence and was hitting him with combos that looked like maybe this is what's going to overwhelm him and drop him, and maybe not be one of those like knockouts, but the flurry is just too much and they end up dropping. But in those moments, that's where Pantoja can grab a hold of you and end up taking your back. And he just did such a good job of, we talked about it numerous times, how he basically will get you on the clinch. It's almost like a side saddle. He'll entangle your legs, and he'll either jump for the back take or he'll just sit down. And then he sits down and he just brings you with him, and now he's got your back. And he did that a few times. Just so crafty with ending up on your back, and good for Moreno for surviving those exchanges off his back, because there was a couple times where he really had to fight the hands,
Mm-hmm.
But just
at one point there was like 4 minutes left in the round.
Yeah, and props to Moreno, he had some very good sweeps as well. I think he had like 3 reversals. Yeah,
3 in the fight.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fantastic. It was a great fight. The post-fight interview, man, I went back and rewatched it. Oh my god, dude! Pantoja says he thinks his mom basically raised him and his brother, and then says, "Dad, are you proud of me now?" or something like that. It's like, God, he brings his family in there with his kid. Just it sucks because, and I've seen people say this, that they were basically rooting against Pantoja only because of how much they like Moreno. You know, you're not gonna dislike Pantoja, but it's tough when they fight your boy.
Screw that guy.
Yeah, he beat Manel Cap, so it was already screw that guy. But, also, the judges, awful. Ben Cartledge, that's an investigation for sure. Just
is that the guy that gave it to Moreno?
He gave Pantoja the first round, which obviously, right, he knocked him down. He outstruck him. Yeah. And then every other round to Moreno. That's insane. That's the only round that was even arguable was the third round, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That was and I think I don't know, man. Maybe the fourth. But yeah, Tosi says 49-46, fire that man. Just a terrible scorecard. And that's when I think it's like that's corruption. Tosi says this is Pantoja's first 5-round fight. I think the first 2 rounds he was a bit overwhelmed by the moment. Yeah, especially you think you almost got him out. You dropped him in the first round, Moreno easily took the second round. And so I thought that was the changing of the tides. I thought that was the momentum shift, that second round. It was like, oh, man, Pantoja, because he looked exhausted.
Yeah. And there was a few lefts that he landed where you see Pantoja stumble a little bit. And even when he was trying to move back and create some space between him and Brandon, you saw the stumbling going on, the tired man stumble, The
tired man stumble, yeah. And then he just kept – it's like, I'm just going to charge at you throwing these bombs and take you down. Toshi says Cap versus Pantoja next. See, that's – what did I say like 3 weeks ago? What did I say? Because they booked they're trying to book at least Cap versus Kai Kara France. Did they already book that? I think they're
I don't know.
They're trying to.
But a fight, though. That's such a good fight, too.
I know, dude. That is such a good fight. And Manel Cap and Pantoja already fought, and it was a decently close fight. UFC 293, Kai Kara France versus Manel Cap. And I said Pantoja beats Moreno, and then Cap beats Kai Kara France, and then takes out Pantoja in the rematch to get the belt. I've been calling it for the past 3 years that Cap's going to be the champ.
You have. Taking a little bit longer than expected, but
a little bit longer than I expected. But but I want to see that. I think Manel Cap can beat Kai Kara France, and I think if you beat Kai Kara France, you get a title shot. Maybe they'll do Pantoja versus Amir Albazi next. I know Amir Albazi technically beat Kai Kara France, but you got to do something with him. So they'll probably do Amir Albazi versus Pantoja, or they'll say Amir Albazi is not a draw. We're just going to do Moreno versus Pantoja, or maybe Brandon Royval. I think he was the backup for this fight, so maybe they'll do Royval versus Pantoja in the meantime.
That'd be fun.
Fantastic division, though. Cannot believe they were going to get rid of it.
It's stacked now. It's so stagnant.
Dude, if I were one of those reporters in the press conferences after these fights, anytime there's a title fight with flyweights, I'd be like, hey, remember when you were gonna get rid of it? Just keep reminding them.
Dude, you wouldn't be invited to your third. Okay, after the
Dude,
second one, they'd be like, all right, this guy's just gonna ask this question.
I
every
would
time.
never make it to my second, dude. I would never. There's always some bullshit, and they never ask about it. And it's like, if you're there, you got to. Toshi says they won't do a Moreno in another rematch. I disagree, because in the press conference they asked Dana about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. We just got to figure out because they're like, it's already tough. This is now the third loss he's had to Pantoja, but it was a really good fight." And then Dana's like, yeah, "It is a fantastic fight, and I think he's like, it's a fantastic fight, and it's tough, but we'll have to think about it, things like that." And then they're like, "Oh, what about Royval?" He's like, "As soon as I left, Royval pulled me aside and said he wants it. He thinks he could beat this guy." And they're like, "So does he get that fight?" He's like, "We got to think about it." It's like,
that's a no.
That's the seed right there, dude. That's Moreno.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, man. Well, that's all I got for that one.
What a fight!
We still have a few fights left to cover.
One fight of the night,
as it should. It should, man.
There should be fights of the night. They should have multiple fight of the nights. Because
No
there was
budget
another
for
one
it.
that deserved it.
No budget for it. All right. We also had Dricus Du Plessis versus Robert Whittaker. Bobby Knuckles, dude. Your boy.
Pour one out. This one sucked, man.
Yeah, you feel about this one the way that I felt about Brandon Moreno's loss.
I'm sure that fight companion, I'm super salty when this fight happened. I don't really remember if I let it affect me that much, but I was pissed.
Oh, yeah, man. Look, Dricus Du Plessis coming in, you had already mentioned the fact that not the biggest fan of Du Plessis. We took a look at his fight history, who it is that he had been beaten. No notable victory, right? But he had a winning streak going. And then you have Bobby Knuckles, who everybody, I think it was consensus out there saying second best fighter, hands down in that division. If it's not for Izzy, Bobby Knuckles probably still the champion, right? Yep. And then you have this guy coming in, Dricus Du Plessis, who's a little bit of a taller fighter, a little bit of a bigger fighter, fighting really low, crouched down, getting that front leg, eating away. Yeah, it was a very strange start to the fight. As the fight continued, he started fighting a little bit taller, being a little bit lighter on that front leg, avoiding some of those leg kicks. That was a big help. What I didn't expect, though, was for him to come in with these lunging shots that were going to land on Whittaker and rock him. Dude, that jab?
I expected the lunging shots. I just did not expect them to land,
Yeah, but the way that he landed that jab and then followed through on it, and as he's ducked down, comes back up with the high guard because he didn't think that was going to take Whittaker out either. Like, he was expecting Whittaker to come back with something heavy.
He even said in the post-fight interview, he's like, "Yeah, I didn't really know where I was, and all I could see was his hands on the mat." And I was like, "Oh, shit." It's like, yeah, because you're way out of position, dude. He throws so weird, man. Rob, his jab was working so well in that first round. And I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more feinting, because that's how Dricus landed his. It was off of Robert's jab, where he's not fooling him as far as, like, anytime he shows jab, he is going. He wasn't really feinting it ever. So Dricus could pretty much bet, like, hey, as soon as he twitches jab, I'm throwing mine. And he beat him to the punch on that one. And I did not expect him to drop him and then finish him. I mean, just blew my mind. And I think at this point, I need to stop doubting him, because this whole time I've been doubting him because of his style.
But I can't blame you. Because again, take a look at the folks that he's been fighting. Again, no major wins that makes you think like, hey, this guy's ready for Robert Whittaker.
The best wins are Brunson in his retirement fight and Darren Till, who has no knees.
A shell of the original Darren Till we all saw, right?
But it's not even just who he's beaten, right? Because you can only do so much with who you've been given. But it's just the style. I've always thought that style will not work against the top fighters, and because he leaves himself open, his chin straight up in the air, all that stuff, and he throws from not weird angles, but bad angles, traditionally bad angles, but it clearly works. So I need to stop doubting it. and think it's
Yeah.
just a different style that I'm not used to seeing. Tosi says Rob was given no room to move back, and that's what Rob does best. Yeah, the pressure from Du Plessis was good. Tosi says I 100% expected this. I'm gonna need some
Ooh.
proof of that, sir. I need a timestamp message that you sent to somebody saying Du Plessis won.
Regen's on the opposite end, where he said I never expected Dricus to win last night, and I was with Regen. I did not expect
I gave him no chance.
Dricus Du Plessis to win. No. So now we get. By the way, terrible move to let Izzy into the octagon at the end.
I hate that, dude.
Stealing the shine away from Dricus Du Plessis and the biggest victory of his career.
It sucked because there's things. Tosi says Pixar didn't have. With moments like this, I hate it because, look, he just knocked out Robert Whittaker. Whittaker's only lost at middleweight to Izzy.
Yeah,
that's a massive deal. Let him have the moment. And not only that when they brought Izzy in, it was cutting off Du Plessis, talking about how great Robert Whittaker is and how much he looked up to him and how much of a gentleman. And it's like, that's what I like to see in the sport, is that type of stuff. Meanwhile, the UFC's shoving Izzy into the moment and just saying, hey, we don't do that anymore. That's not what this is about anymore. We're WWE now. And then Izzy walks in. And, man, Izzy's so bad at shit talking, especially when he has to do it off the top and he doesn't have anything prepared. Tosi says he sounded like a child. He just starts dropping the N-bomb, really hoping that Du Plessis would say it back or something. It seemed like that's what he was trying to do. I hate racial undertoned. This isn't even undertoned. This is like straight up just racial beef, and I don't need that to sell a fight. You know what I mean? I don't need it. And yeah, Regen says Dricus showed how classy he was in that moment, because while Izzy was just rambling, I think Izzy was also wasted. I'm pretty sure he was wasted. But while he's rambling and just going off on tangents, Du Plessis just walks away.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Good for him, though, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and Regen says Dricus never made it about race. And we'll go TMZ on this one. Dricus said, this is the beef. And we talked about it last night. You have to angle something to get a title shot in this sport. Otherwise, you end up like Bilal Muhammad, or you end up like Benil Dariush, and you don't ever end up getting a title shot. So Du Plessis is like, let me find something that I can angle for the champion, so that when I do put these wins together, the UFC will see something marketable there, and I'll get a title shot, because that's what it takes. So he says, I want to be the first real African champ. Izzy's like, what? And he's like, because Izzy, he left. He doesn't represent Africa. He's in New Zealand. He reps New Zealand. So okay. Francis, he left also. He's out of France. Now he's in America, so he doesn't really rep it either. Kamaru, as Colby would say, Marty from Nebraska, right? He doesn't rep it either. So he's like, I'll be the first actual. I grew up and continue to train in Africa. I'll be the first African champ. That's what he's saying, right? That's his angle. Izzy then takes it the next step further, and his counter is, you come from colonizers, you're not really African. And he makes it about race, basically saying, do the 23andMe, or as he said, 36andMe, and it'll show where you're from. It won't show that you're African, all this stuff. Now, I don't know, man. I don't really need that type of beef to sell me a fight. I'm just happy Izzy's getting a fresh opponent for a title shot, Regent says he only said the same thing Leon did. He'll be the first champ to live and train out of that area to bring a belt back to it. Exactly. He did not bring up anything about race. But it's not really his place to talk about race either, in that situation, because what he's going to say?
Yeah.
Like, he can't really bring up race in it. But Izzy's definitely brought up race as a counter to it. And that kind of sucks, because, like, I don't know. It is what it is. These guys fucking beat each other up for a living, so does it really matter? Not really.
I mean, and I think that's what Dana said at the end, right? He's like, man, it's a fight game. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. Yeah. They asked him about that, about racial undertones. Like, what racial undertones? And
Dana's so stupid, dude. I hate how he tries to be oblivious.
But he's like, look, it's a fight game. They're going to fight. They can say whatever they want. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, well, if there's anything that Dana has stuck to in the last couple of years is freedom of speech, and they could say whatever they want. I'm not going to censor them.
And he
So
loves to profit off race wars. Let's be real. Bro,
race wars like in Fast and Furious?
Yeah. They literally made it was Kobe versus Tyron Woodley. They literally marketed it as BLM versus Blue Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter. That's literally how they marketed that fight. Fucking crazy, dude.
Rough.
Yeah.
All right, man. Yeah, let's move on here because we also had another fight that was a contender for fight of the night between Dan Hooker and Jalin Mrs. Wade Turner.
Jalin Mrs. Wade Turner. Yeah.
Yeah.
You train with Hamzat one time and you come back and miss weight.
Yeah. Just smash, brother. Just smash.
He's like, I learned so much from training with Hamzat. It's like, did you forget how to miss or how to make weight? Did you have to trade knowledge?
Man,
give up some knowledge to gain some knowledge?
Going into this, I actually had picked Jalin Turner on this one.
I did too.
Up and coming fighter, very crisp striking. I thought that he'd be able to beat Dan Hooker to the punch more often than not, which he did in the beginning, kind of, sort of. And then Dan Hooker's like, wait, hold on just a second. If we get wild.
If I turn this into a dogfight.
Yeah.
Because in a clean fight, Turner does win this, right? Because Dan Hooker, normally the longer guy, and he can keep people away with his kicks. He does a really good job throwing the front kick to the body, and then it's the same entry as his step-in knee to the body, right? So he'll throw the front kick to the body, and he can mask it with that knee, and he goes back and forth, and it's very good. Tosi says this was fight of the night. And the other thing he does is when you get in close, he'll start throwing elbows, knee to the midsection, all that type of stuff. He's very good in close, but he's fighting someone who normally he has the reach advantage on people. But in this fight, Jalin Turner's got the reach advantage, and he's someone who fights with his reach very, very well with his straight punches, right? So I was like, I don't think Dan Hooker's ever even going to get in close to do the damage he needs. And the first round looked like that was kind of the case, right? He was kind of lighting him up with those shots at the end of the punches. Toasty says, my teammates won $700 betting on Hooker and Pantoja. Yeah. And Regent says he counted Hooker out, and he was so happy he was wrong. I love Dan Hooker, man. People hate on him because of the whole Makhachev thing where he started bringing up the IV stuff. But, dude, the guy's in wars constantly. He's the guy that you said Charlie Olives. We wouldn't have Charlie Olives without him. But, yeah, that second round, Jalin Turner lands this high kick on Dan Hooker here. In the picture, you can tell it's insane. And you also can see Dan Hooker's right arm is nowhere near where it needs to be to block that high kick because it was already broken from another one he blocked earlier.
What broke his arm savage.
Broke his arm in the second round. And the ability to fight through a broken arm is one thing, but to keep throwing it, because we talked about it in the Fight Companion, the entry that was working for Dan Hooker that really started to work in the second round was he'd lunge in, he'd slip in, right hook to the body, left hook up top. That opens with a broken arm. He opens that combo with the broken arm. And it was kind of having some success in the first like minute or so in that second round. But then Jalin Turner really started beating the brakes off him in that second round. Lands the high kick, has him hurt. But then the tides turn in that round when Hooker does that same combo where he throws that right hook to the body, left hook up top, and then follows it up with the right hand up top. Because that whole time Jalin Turner basically knew, I just have to brace for the left hook to the body, right hook up top. Right hook to the body, left hook up top. There's nothing coming after that. I'm safe after that punch up top. So he can almost reset after that second punch. But then Hooker starts opening up with that right hand up top after the combo, and he starts hurting him. And then he just keeps getting after him. He's like, this is how I make it a dogfight. And you can see him completely overwhelm him there at the end of that second round. Takes his back, squeezes the shit out of him, and then the bell saves him. I mean, it was incredible. That second round was, that might be round of the year for me. That was insane.
So good, man. And then with Hooker, I think he's shown his toughness. He's put it on display multiple times, right? Like
Almost every fight.
I think it was Toasty that was like, how does he not get knocked down from that? And I think about the fights against Dustin Poirier too, right? I mean, he got knocked out versus Chandler, right? Chandler, came at him hot, but he's shown, he's shown time and time again that he's a real deal, man. You know, and he was contending in the top 5 for quite some time. Had a little bit of a tough run against some of the elites of the elites. And we talked about this, right? Where there's that tier number 1. And that tier number 1, you have, Islam Makhachev, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier. And those are the folks he's losing to. Yeah. Those are the guys he's losing to.
No shame in that, right? And the Poirier fight, he almost finished Poirier.
He almost did. He beat Claudio Puelles. Let's see here.
Win.
Paul Felder, Ally Quinta.
James
Vick. Well, everybody beat James Vick at the end, right? But
yeah,
he beat Gilbert Burns, bro. Jim Miller.
Yeah,
come on, man.
Yeah, and that third round, Dan Hooker in that third round, really just continued that avalanche that he started at the end of the second round. What is it? Regent says, I was watching the casuals. I yelled head movement. They all looked at me like, Dan Hooker refuses to move his head, man.
Movement.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's one of the best. Man, he just poured it on him that whole third round. And I remember at the end of the fight, I was like, man, this could be a Turner win still, because the last minute and a half of that second round was all Dan Hooker, but Turner also had him hurt bad in that second round, and he was
pretty much out, right?
Yeah, and it was a split. And remember, in the Fight Companion, I was like, yeah, I'm not mad at that whoever judge scored it for Turner, because first and second round, first round was clear Turner. Second round was close. It would be bad if they gave to him the third round.
But is that the round they gave to him?
Adelaide Bird,
gave
Jalin Turner the third round of this fight.
Huh?
I mean, that's egregious, and it almost makes me think, like, was she too late to score the second round for Turner? And she got frazzled and she gave it to Hooker, and she's like, damn it, I should have gave him this. He got the second round, not
I
Hooker.
owe him one.
And then just gave him the third, because how could you ever give Jalin Turner that third round? It was all Dan Hooker. I mean, he beat the brakes off him.
I wonder if they ever do that.
Yeah, Regent says arrest rats. Ben Cartilage, Adelaide Bird. In my opinion, you do something like that, you take away half of somebody's money that night, you need to be at least suspended for like 6 months. You shouldn't be able to judge at least for 6 months. It's insane to me. People say, oh, it wasn't a title fight, or if it's on a prelim fight, it's not the highest stakes. That's half their paycheck.
It's livelihood, though.
It's half their paycheck. And they probably need it more than anybody else on the card. But yeah, so Dan Hooker toughs it out. The guy's tough as nails. He's proven that time and time again. But if you see him after this fight, he won the fight, and he looks like that. And he told Mark Smith, if I win, be careful when you lift my arm, because I think I broke my elbow.
Oof,
and
rough, dude.
He didn't break his elbow, but the next picture is the X-ray, and I cannot imagine fighting with that.
Ooh,
that is incredible.
Wow, man. Hey, what Toasty said, I've been saying this for the longest time already. Judges should be on the post-fight presser to answer their decisions. 100%, man. Accountability. There's no accountability with that group. None.
Well, yeah, because the only people who can hold them accountable are the people who are doing it, that are being egregious. The only people who can hold them accountable are the perpetrators. They're not going to hold themselves accountable. Why would they?
Yeah. All right.
I agree. Well, they should be, but it's never going to happen.
So your boy here has to make it to a soccer game, Will. The Littles have a soccer game.
How about this? We'll do Bo Nickal because it'll take 10 seconds, and then we'll do Robbie Lawler to send him off.
Deal.
That
So
work?
Bo Nickal versus Val Woodburn. Your boy Bo.
My boy Bo.
Yeah, dude.
I mean,
answer some questions. For me, it did. Just because it shows that he has some hands. Because all I had seen is that he rushes straight into the takedown. A lot of times he would just use the hands to set up the takedown, and then from there, that's all the work you do. It was nice to see him just stand.
Yeah, I mean he coming into this, he did have a knockout. That's the before the Contender Series. He had a knockout, a first round knockout with punches. So I've seen it, but I needed to see. I guess maybe this did answer at least a question. I mean, you look at this picture and it's like, man, what an elite striker, huh? Look at that, look at that form.
Off balance for sure.
Off balance, right hand literally below his waist. It's a bad look. But what I did like from this, and I feel for Val Woodburn, and I'm glad they're going to give him at least another fight, because he took this on 12 days notice or something, made weight, showed up, I think alone. He's just walking around by himself. I'm just like, damn. And it's Bo Nickal was the highest favorite in UFC history coming into this, so it's expected. But what Bo Nickal did really well in this fight, which is what is going to continue to give him success on the feet. Everybody's so worried about getting taken down. He opens with a big overhand right. It lands, and I was like, "Ooh, that's nice." And then he opens the same entry for a takedown, and you're like, "There's the shot," but it wasn't. He pulled back on the shot, landed another overhand, and now if you're Val Woodburn, you're like, "I saw the entry for the takedown. It's the same as the overhand. What the hell do I do? What do I do next? Is he shooting or is he throwing that overhand? What do I do?" And he's standing there in the center. Bo Nickal enters and instead throws that left hook over the top. And Val's like, "What the fuck? There's a third option? What do I do now?" And then it's just Bo Nickal pieces him up a couple times because he's already rocked from all those punches. And that's it. But that's what he needs to do, is disguise his punches with his takedown attempts. The same way Khabib lands that overhand on Conor. That's how he's going to have success on the feet. I would like to see more of that from him. I don't like his personality. I think he's pretty cringy, but I am excited to see his next fight now.
Ooh, okay. Hey, baby steps.
Baby steps.
All right. And then
Bo Baby Steps.
The last
That's
one
the new
we'll
nickname.
cover. Bo Baby?
Bo Baby Steps Nickal. So stupid.
The last one we're going to cover, man. Storybook ending to a fantastic career. We had Robbie Lawler versus Niko Price. Robbie Lawler, 46th fight.
46. I mean,
wow.
Incredible. There's a lot of pictures in this slideshow, by the way, for Robbie Lawler.
Of course.
Couldn't just do a couple.
Oh, man.
Best retirement fight of all time?
It's up there.
I think
it's up there. The way that he goes out there, they start swinging in the clinch. Those classic Robbie Lawler full force uppercuts, hooks, just so dirty.
So good.
And not dirty fighting, right? Like I just like that dirty boxing in close and like just grabbing him and just throwing those uppercuts, so good. And you see that uppercut kind of land, and it kind of like shakes Niko a little bit. Yep. And then that short left hook that lands right on the temple, and you just see Niko collapse. And the way that Robbie walks over there, doesn't land an extra shot, the respect, and just raises his hands and walks off. Man. Storybook ending.
Yeah, and even just the lead up, they kept showing him in the locker room getting his hands taped and stuff, and he's smiling and laughing with people and stuff, and I was just like, this is so cool. And then you see Bruce Buffer while he's announcing him in that last photo. Dude, Bruce Buffer went hard. He went so hard announcing Robbie Lawler. It was so cool to see.
Look at that picture too, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so good.
Just taking it in.
Yeah, and then he goes out there and just starches him in 36 seconds, I think it was. And like you said, he just clinches and just he got him like right on the temple.
39 seconds.
Sneaks the uppercut in as he's going down from the uppercut before he can even put his hand down or his leg down. The left over the top around the corner. And I've seen some people already say, Niko took a dive. Niko took a dive. You can't fall like that. What's on screen right now, you can't fake that. You cannot fall. Your body will not fall like that if you're conscious. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. Tosi says, Robbie crying made me cry.
Dude, when Robbie cries, we all cry.
Because Robbie never cries, dude. And just some of the moments, man. After the fight, this might actually make me tear up right now, but after the fight, they're doing the post-fight interview. It's incredible. He's already, you can see his lip quivering, like he's about to start crying, and you're like, don't do me like this, Robbie, because the guy's just a stone cold killer, dude. It's not, you don't see
no emotions.
Yeah, you don't see someone like that cry. He takes a knee after the fight, and he's taking it all in. You could tell. Everybody loves him. There's zero Robbie Lawler haters out there. You know, if the Diaz brothers respect you, pretty much, most likely everybody else does. Toshi says it's like watching your dad cry. And after the post-fight interview, Joe says, we put something together. We want you to watch this up here. Look up at the big screen. And they play a highlight, and it's one of Robbie's early interviews where he's talking about fighting and stuff, like from way back in the day, and it's overlaid with his early UFC fights before they even had branding on the glove, where he knocks out Tiki. You know, they start showing they show Strikeforce fights. They show his Pride fight. They're showing all this stuff. And then they get into that era of the comeback, the resurgence of Robbie Lawler, where, I mean, the run that he went on to get the belt was just absolute insanity. And one of my favorite moments of all of fighting, a lot of people, it's his fight with Rory McDonald, right? Where the round ends, he eats the high kick, he spits out a bunch of blood, they end the round, and then they're just staring each other down bloody. And you're like, we still have 2 more rounds of this? This is insane. But the moment for me that Robbie Lawler is like, gives me goosebumps every time I watch it, is the rematch against Johnny Hendricks, where, I mean, they set records in those fights for how many strikes they landed on each other. And by the end of that last fight, or the second fight, they showed Fat Robbie in Strikeforce even. It's this region. But the end of that fight, the second one, it really came down to that last round. It was close fight. And most of that round was Johnny Hendricks in on the double leg, and he'd stuff his head in between Robbie's legs and just hold him against the fence. And it was like, no, we cannot have him win this by decision based off of that. That should not win him this fight. And there's 45 seconds left, and Robbie was pretty much controlled most of that 5th round. And you're like, he's going to lose to control. This is awful. And instead of just defending the takedown, he just takes a knee, starts elbowing the side of Johnny Hendricks' ribs, while Johnny Hendricks is just stuck on the double leg with his head between his legs, and he's just elbowing him, and you can hear him, and he's screaming with every elbow that he's landing to the body, and eventually Johnny Hendricks takes his hands off, starts covering up the body, and Robbie's able to escape. Johnny Hendricks stands up, and he's absolutely gassed with his back against the fence. Robbie has to separate when he gets up, so he's like a few feet away, and immediately, as soon as Johnny Hendricks takes that step back to put his back up against the fence, Robbie literally flies at him. I've never seen anything like it. It's not a Superman punch. He just leaps at him. And he's like, bat, 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 throwing head kicks, throwing all these wild hooks, uppercuts. And you can see the camera is facing Robbie with Johnny Hendricks underneath the camera, just shelling up. And Robbie's screaming with everything. And Johnny Hendricks is just trying to like circle away as best as he can while Robbie's just screaming at him. And they end the fight, and he just continues to walk him down after the end of the fight. And I was like, oh my God, I'd never seen anything like that before. There hasn't really been anything since. And then they gave him the fight, which arguably he lost that fight. But but it was just an incredible scene, you know, when someone like Regen says earlier that he was like kind of disappointed in Moreno in that 5th round when he knew he needed to finish, but he didn't quite fight. He fought like he needed to win the round. Robbie had 0 of that for his whole career. If Robbie needed to finish, I mean, he's going to go insane. He's not going to try to win that round. He's not going to shoot it for a takedown with 30 seconds left. He's going to try to put you out for as long as he's allowed to. I mean, just incredible career. Regis says, Johnny was like, what the fuck is happening right now? It was insane, dude. I love that fight.
Dude, he's fought Nick Diaz twice, Neil Magny, Kobe Covington, Rafael Dos Anjos, Donald Cerrone, Tyron Woodley, Carlos Condit, Rory McDonald, Johnny Hendricks, Matt Brown, Jake Ellenberger.
Rory twice. I fought Rory twice.
Josh Koscheck. Dude,
Lorenz Larkin, Melvin Manhoef.
Jacare.
Yeah.
Jake Shields. Dude, what a career, man.
What a career. And just one of the most violent guys. You know, one of the most violent guys ever in the sport. So to see him go out with a win like this, it's just not something that happens often. I know Chris Lytle. Knockout. Yeah, the Chris Lytle one that Regen's referencing, that's a great one. Amanda Nunes obviously had a great retirement fight, but it's a little different in my opinion. But yeah, to see Robbie go out like that, be able to take all that in, he gets that promo at the end where he's, he's like crying. They have him while he's watching it. They have a little corner cam, like on the corner of the screen. They have a shot of a camera on him while he's watching it. I mean, just you don't get happy endings in MMA. It just doesn't happen, So for Robbie to get one is really cool.
That was a good one, man. So that's the end of an era with Robbie.
End of the Pride era, man. That's the last fighter on the UFC roster with Pride fights.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, Verdum I think is still fighting somewhere, but
Bare Knuckle versus JDS.
Yeah, but
and Masvidal's promotion there.
Yeah.
Regen says, "How crazy is that? I already forgot about Amanda retiring as a double champ." Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the fake tears that made you forget.
The fake tears, crocodile tears.
Yeah. All right.
Toasty says it's called Picture in Picture, Mr. Geek Squad. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here, do you want to just skip to a moment of silence and?
Yeah, might as well. We were going to talk about Tatsuda Taira. Got a win, faced some adversity. Happy for him. But yeah, we'll go moment of silence.
Moment of silence. Rich, if we can bring that up. Did we have it?
Yeah, we have it.
Okay.
Yeah, so Trishan Gore was supposed to fight Bo Nickal. Probably would have went the same. But who knows? Trishan Gore does have that UFC. He's not going to have UFC jitters that Val might have had. Figueiredo was supposed to fight Manel Kape on this fight. Cannot believe that didn't happen. Figueiredo pulled out of that twice and then moved up. And now he's trying to fight Dominic Cruz. Simon was originally supposed to fight Rodriguez. Rodriguez withdrew. Simon got a win. Jack Della Maddalena was supposed to be on this card. And this card was insane. Could you imagine if Jack Della fought on it? He was originally supposed to fight ranked fighter Sean Brady. That would have been a fun, interesting matchup. Brady has to fall out because I don't know if you saw his elbow. It's fucking insane. I saw people be like, he was scared to fight Jack Della. And it's like, look at his Instagram. His elbow is fucking as big as his head. And then so they bring in Josiah Harrell, 10 days notice, a lightweight, doesn't even have 10 pro fights yet. So they're like, hey, I know you haven't had 10 pro fights yet and you're a lightweight, but do you want to, on 10 days notice, fight a ranked welterweight? And he's like, okay, cool. What they didn't bet on is doing an MRI and finding out that he has a disease that interrupts blood flow to his brain. So they had to cancel the fight. We could have easily seen Jack Della kill a person.
Yeah.
That would have been insane. I'm glad
Sean Strickland said, sign me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Korean Zombie said, I'll do it if I don't know about it. Josiah Harrell, he has to go get brain surgery. How insane is that? What a roller coaster, huh? You get the call to fight
Best
on the
wishes,
main card,
man.
International Fight Week. It's like, actually, you need brain surgery. You'll probably never fight again. That's crazy, dude. That's a moment of silence.
That's crazy.
Those are the fights.
Yeah.
Bonuses.
And a career that was lost with Harrell.
Yeah. Bonuses. Moreno and Pantoja got fight of the night. Du Plessis got a performance bonus, and Denise Gomes got one for her first round knockout. Hopefully Hook got a bonus. Yeah, flatline.
How did we?
Big upset, yeah.
How did he? Dude, flatlined her. Boom. Yeah. Out. Like a light.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry to kind of end this so quickly. One, I was late. And then two, I'm having to end this quickly for the kiddos, you know what I mean? But yeah, what do we have going on next week?
No? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
July 14th, we got one fight night. Is it 12, I think? I think it's 12. Yeah, yes. One fight night 12. I think we have a picture for it.
Very toning, huh?
There we go. Yeah, Superleg's back. He's fighting Tig. Dude, if you haven't seen Kalilov, oh my God. This guy's so fun to watch. Probably loses this fight, but it's going to be a really good one. The dude's dangerous. Gary Tonin on there against Gasanov is going to be a really fun grappling match, most likely. Ali Akbari's back. That dude hits like a truck. There's some good fights in here. The big one, Lara Fernandez versus Pajija. That's going to be amazing, dude. She is very promising. Like one to watch out for sure. Goncalves is fighting in MMA now, which I think is a good move because he's had some issues. So that's going to be a fun fight. Musa Mechi, Mikey's sister's on here too, doing a grappling match.
Okay.
Good card. Good card.
Is she as
Super
awkward
like just
as
fought
Mikey?
like 2 weeks ago, huh?
Yeah.
No, not as awkward.
Okay. All right. Well, and
And
then,
then,
do we have any
that's Friday.
UFC?
Yeah, that's Friday, and then we have a banger of a main event in UFC on Saturday. We got Holly Holm versus Mayra Buena Silva headlining a card. Like I said, it's a banger. Dariah versus Jung Park is the co-main event. I mean, okay. We got Walt Harris versus Parisian. Chelsea Chandler versus Dumont's actually probably going to be a decent fight. Otman Azatar somehow still fights in the UFC. He's fighting Francisco Prado. That's probably going to be a knockout either way. You got Terrence McKinney opening up main card against Sadikov. That's a banger.
Tyson Nam?
Sadikov. Yeah, dude, Sadikov, don't forget, that's the guy who had that fight with Evan Elder, that war with Evan Elder.
Yeah.
McKinney versus him is going to be nuts, dude. Tyson Nam's
Speaking
on there.
Of Evan Elder.
He's on the card too.
Yep.
Very excited to see him back in there. That was an unfortunate loss he had to take because of the cut. He was winning that fight, in my opinion. I really like that guy. And yeah, Regen says Ramiro's still ducking the UFC 4 beatdown.
Regen, hit me up on Instagram, dude. Send me your what do you call that? Gamer tag?
That's Xbox.
Is that what you call it? I don't know, dude. Whatever you call it, dude. Username? Send me your username.
So your username. Yeah, we still gotta figure out how we can fight each other on here, dude. And
dude, I haven't been playing a lot of Gran
dodging
Turismo
me
lately.
in Street Fighter 6. I'm 100% dodging Rich in Street Fighter 6. 100%.
This guy's in tournaments over at what is it?
He went
Daytona
to Florida for a tournament.
Dude.
He got the Dallas tournament. He's just telling me in 4 weeks he's going to be in Vegas doing another tournament with 9,000 people. That's
like you being a ranked opponent and just taking on a short notice fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's Val Woodburn going in there to fight Bo Nickal. You know?
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for joining us. It's always a blast. Toasty, Regen, always a lot of fun whenever y'all join us to chat it up about all the fights. If this is your first time watching, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Goes a long way. Be sure to go back and watch the Fight Companion as well, which was an absolute blast. If y'all haven't joined us for a Fight Companion yet, please do. It's so much fun. I promise, Regen, when you join us for a Fight Companion and you say head movement, we know exactly what you're talking about. We won't look at you all weird, dude. I promise. Hey, this podcast right here, produced by Richard Bustos. Any sound effects? No? All right.
You can't hear the claps?
I didn't hear them. But hey, anyways, thanks everybody for joining us for another week of Story of the Fight.